It was an accident, nothing could be done about it. But my husband refused to accept my words after I lost our baby, having miscarried when my mother-in-law, who lived with us, deliberately tripped me. Even though I was no longer able to have children, I could only hope that any child born into our family would be healthy. 3 years later, my mother-in-law was overjoyed as she celebrated my sister-in-law's pregnancy, while I remained in the background, treated like nothing more than a servant. Day by day, the exhaustion ate away at my spirit. But then, something completely unexpected happened, turning everything on its head and changing my life forever. My name is Kristen. I married Daniel when I was 25, he was 3 years older than me. We met at university, and for me, it was love at first sight. I pursued him relentlessly until, eventually, he took notice, proposed, and we tied the knot. I was over the moon, eager to begin my life with the man I adored, handsome, kind, and seemingly perfect. But little did I know, those blissful days were about to be replaced by hardships. The first challenge arose right after our wedding, when Daniel brought up our living arrangements. It's fine if Mom lives with us, right? Dad passed away, so she'd be all alone otherwise. I was caught completely off guard by this sudden suggestion. Before our marriage, I had lived independently, while Daniel had stayed at home with his mother. Naturally, I assumed we would find our own place. Huh? I thought we'd be living on our own? I asked, stunned. Actually, Mom said that if we were getting married, living together was a non-negotiable condition, he admitted. What? This is the first time I'm hearing about this. I blurted out, shocked by my husband's confession. Apparently, he had already made this agreement with his mother without telling me. As upsetting as that was, another issue loomed even larger. His mother clearly didn't like me. From the very first time we met and even at our wedding, she barely spoke to me, only addressing me when necessary. Occasionally, I caught her shooting cold, disapproving glances in my direction. I had serious doubts about whether we could get along, but Daniel didn't seem to share my concerns in the slightest. What's the big deal? It'll be fine. You'll get along great with Mom, he assured me with a beaming smile. I had no words to respond. And so, swept up by his carefree attitude, I found myself moving into his family home, a decision I would soon regret. As I had feared, my worst nightmares became reality. Sigh. Your cooking isn't very good, is it? Spending all that time in the kitchen, and this is the best you can do? My mother-in-law sneered. But you made me stop in the middle of cooking to clean. I protested. Oh? Are you talking back now? Just because you're young and my son adores you, don't think you can get cocky, you useless girl. It was painfully obvious, she resented me as her son's wife. Seeing me happy seemed unbearable for her. She forced me to quit my job, insisting that a married woman belonged at home, and dumped all the household chores onto me. When Daniel wasn't around, she harassed me, spilling flour on the floor right after I cleaned it or throwing away meals I had just prepared. When I confided in Daniel, his only response was, "I'll talk to her." Yet, despite insisting that we live together, he never actually did anything about it. Even though we were newlyweds, I was already drowning in stress. But in the midst of it all, there was one person who stood up for me. I can't believe you're making Emma do everything. Mom, you need to help too. It was my sister-in-law, Sophia. She scolded her mother for lounging on the couch while I did all the housework. It's fine, Emma wants to do it, my mother-in-law shrugged. That's not true. Daniel, you need to set Mom straight too. Why am I getting yelled at? Daniel muttered, confused. At just 22, Sophia was surprisingly mature. She didn't just call out her mother, she also put Daniel in his place. And beyond that, she actively helped me with chores, flashing a bright, reassuring smile. Let's do it together, she said, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a little less alone. Sophia had been warm toward me ever since I started dating her brother, but her attachment to me was rooted in something much deeper, an incident that had happened years earlier. On that particular day, Sophia was on her way to the final interview for her dream job. But due to an unexpected train delay, she found herself stranded at the station, visibly lost and anxious. That's when I happened to notice her. That day, I ended up driving Sophia to her interview venue. Thanks to that, she made it on time, nailed the interview, and soon after received a job offer from her dream company. From that moment on, she became even more attached to me. "I'll always be on your side," she would say with her usual carefree smile. That warmth and kindness were what helped me endure the loneliness of my everyday life. But then, a few months later, something happened, something so devastating that even Sophia's support wasn't enough to help me through it. "Honey, I'm pregnant." One day, feeling unwell, I went to the hospital. When the doctor confirmed my pregnancy, I could barely contain my excitement. The first thing I did was call Daniel to share the news. "That's amazing. I'm going to be a dad," he exclaimed, his voice filled with pure joy. Hearing his excitement, my heart swelled with happiness. Despite all my worries, I still loved my husband deeply. Back then, the thought of raising a child with him made my heart race with anticipation. Surely, now that we were expecting, Daniel would prioritize our little family more. However, even in this moment of joy, my mother-in-law's resentment toward me remained unchanged. I wasn't expecting much from her, but when I told her about the pregnancy, all she did was nod absent-mindedly, barely acknowledging my words. There was no sign of happiness, no kindness, nothing. Instead of showing any concern for my condition, she became even more demanding. She started sending me to far-off stores for shopping, made me lift heavy furniture, and constantly found ways to burden me further. Then, one day, when my belly had grown noticeably large, it happened. "Ugh, you're so slow. You're always in the way." That day, my mother-in-law was particularly irritable. Without warning, she shoved me from behind. Thrown off balance, I stumbled forward, crashing hard into the edge of a table. Ah! A sharp, searing pain shot through my stomach, unlike anything I had ever felt before. A dreadful feeling washed over me as I clutched my belly in terror. Without hesitation, I fumbled for my phone and called an ambulance myself, while my mother-in-law, instead of helping, fled to her room as if nothing had happened. At the hospital, the news I received was nothing short of a nightmare. The impact of the fall had caused me to miscarry, and worse still, the damage was so severe that I had lost the ability to have children altogether. I would never get to meet my baby. I would never have another chance to be a mother. Overcome with grief, I returned home and confronted my mother-in-law, tears streaming down my face. "Because of you, my baby is gone forever. How do you plan to take responsibility for this?" I cried, my voice shaking. If she hadn't done such a thing, if she had just left me alone, my child might have been born safe and healthy. But instead of remorse, all she did was scoff. "Humph. It's your own fault for being so clumsy. How pathetic to blame others for your misfortune," she sneered. Not a single ounce of guilt. No apology. Just cruel, heartless words. But what broke me the most wasn't her, it was Daniel. When I explained everything to him, sobbing, desperate for him to stand by my side, his response shattered me. "I get that you're sad, but it was an accident, right? There's nothing we can do about it now." That was it. No anger, no grief, no outrage, just indifference. As if my suffering, our lost child, my shattered future meant nothing. At that moment, I realized something terrible. Had Daniel's joy about the pregnancy been real? Or was it all just an illusion? Then, as if twisting the knife even deeper, my mother-in-law added, "And don't even think about something stupid like divorce. If you leave, I'll just bring Sophia back to handle the housework." That was the moment my last bit of hope crumbled. The thought of leaving had certainly crossed my mind, but I couldn't bear the idea of my beloved sister-in-law suffering in my place. I wouldn't wish this life on her. When Sophia found out about my miscarriage, she was furious. She yelled at her mother, scolding her harshly. But even her anger couldn't reach me anymore. The pain inside me was too deep. And over time, as if realizing her words made no difference, Sophia's visits became less frequent. I just want Sophia to be happy. With no more hope, no more strength to fight, I simply went through the motions of daily life. My mother-in-law barked orders, and I obeyed without a word. I no longer even saw the point in thinking about anything. 3 long, empty years passed like that. And then, one day, an event occurred that changed everything. Sophia, who I hadn't seen in a long time, suddenly showed up at the house. Actually, I'm pregnant. With the baby of the man I love. We're planning to get married soon. Her words were filled with a radiance I hadn't seen in a long time. That's wonderful. I hope the baby is born healthy, my mother-in-law gushed, her joy overflowing. Then, without a shred of shame, she added, it was unfortunate with Emma, so you be careful. Daniel, clueless as ever, smiled and nodded, completely unaware of how his words would wound me. I couldn't take it anymore. I excused myself, saying I needed to go shopping, and left. As much as I wanted to be happy for Sophia, a part of me ached so deeply that I could hardly breathe. I couldn't bear to see Daniel's reaction, so completely different from when it was my pregnancy. His excitement, his joy, his overwhelming support for Sophia felt like a cruel contrast to the cold indifference he had shown me. That's when it happened. Emma. I turned at the sound of my name, startled. To my surprise, Sophia had run after me. What's wrong? You need to be careful with your body. There was a seriousness in her voice, a warmth in her eyes that I hadn't seen in so long. Actually, there's something I really want to tell you, she said. And then, in a hushed voice, she revealed something completely unexpected. Sophia gripped my hand tightly as I stood there, bewildered by her words. Now it's my turn to help you. Looking into her determined gaze, something inside me cracked open. Tears I thought had long since dried up, spilled freely down my cheeks. A few months later, I found myself waiting in the living room with my mother-in-law and Daniel. Today was the day Sophia had promised to bring home her fiancé. The tension in the air was thick. My mother-in-law had been in an unusually good mood ever since hearing about Sophia's engagement. She clearly saw this as another opportunity for social gain. Then, the front door opened. I'm home. I brought him, Sophia announced. She stepped inside, her arm linked with a tall, well-dressed man with an air of quiet confidence. The moment Daniel laid eyes on him, his face went pale. Huh? Mr. Carter? Daniel shot up from his seat, his mouth hanging open in shock. Sophia smirked. Are you surprised? You probably never thought my fiancé would be the son of your company's president, did you? The room fell into stunned silence. Mr. Carter, the man standing beside Sophia, was not just any employee at Daniel's company. He was the heir to the company, the president's only son, set to inherit the entire business. Apparently, he had fallen in love with Sophia at first sight when she was working as a receptionist at another company, and their relationship had blossomed from there. So, Sophia will be the president's wife in the future. Realizing what this meant, my mother-in-law's expression shifted from shock to absolute delight. As expected of my daughter, she beamed. Daniel, still in disbelief, slowly sat back down. But then a greedy smile spread across his face. He was probably already fantasizing about how this marriage would benefit him. However, their excitement was about to come crashing down. I took a quiet step forward, standing firmly beside Sophia. But this will be the last time she comes to this house. My mother-in-law and Daniel gaped at me, their joy instantly turning to confusion. What? Don't say such selfish things, my mother-in-law screeched. Sophia, you're just letting her manipulate you. I know you don't mean this. I met her glare with cold eyes. You were just ignoring it, but Sophia has always been angry about what's been happening. Sophia stepped forward then, her voice steady and unwavering. I've warned you countless times about how you treat Emma. But since it's clear that you'll never change, I've made my decision. She took a deep breath before delivering the final blow. I'm cutting ties with you. My mother-in-law's face contorted in shock. Daniel's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. That day, when Sophia had chased after me, she had told me everything. For 3 years, she had been watching, waiting for the right moment to act. She had long since realized that her mother and Daniel would never change, so rather than wasting her energy on them, she had been preparing an escape plan. And that plan was to sever ties with them completely the moment she married into the Miller family. "Don't tell me you're still holding a grudge over the child?" Daniel sputtered, his voice laced with irritation. Sophia's eyes darkened. "Of course I am. What Mom did to Emma is absolutely unforgivable." Daniel's face twisted in frustration. "That's all made up. I didn't do anything. You're being deceived by this woman." Despite everything, he still refused to take responsibility. His mother, just as stubborn, pointed a shaking finger at me. "She's manipulating you, Sophia." "I never did anything." I remained calm. I had been waiting for this moment. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. "Can you still say that after seeing this?" I tapped the screen, and suddenly, a video began playing. My mother-in-law's face drained of color. It was all there. Footage of her cruel treatment. The insults. The harassment. The moment she pushed me, causing my miscarriage. I had been secretly collecting evidence for months, ever since Sophia first told me her plan. My mother-in-law fell silent, her lips trembling. I took a deep breath. "I'm submitting this to a lawyer. And I'm divorcing Daniel." Daniel's head snapped up. Wait. "Emma, let's talk about," Sophia cut him off with a sharp glare. "No, Daniel. It's over." I looked at Sophia then, and she gave me the same warm, reassuring smile she always had. For the first time in years, I felt free. I had given up on my future, trapped in hopelessness, convinced that nothing could change. But thanks to Sophia, thanks to her unwavering support and the hand she extended when I thought no one would, I found the courage to take action. To carve out a bright future for myself. Divorce? No way. I refuse. Daniel's voice was shrill with desperation, his mask of arrogance crumbling. "By the way," Sophia cut him off sharply, "we know what you did too." Daniel stiffened. His guilty conscience was written all over his face. And as if on cue, Mr. Carter, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. "We did a little investigation at the company." The room fell deathly silent. Daniel swallowed hard as Mr. Carter continued, his voice calm yet firm. "It turns out your behavior at work isn't much different from how you treat people at home. You harassed subordinates who didn't obey you, bullied colleagues into resigning, and acted like the company was your personal playground." Daniel's face went pale. "All of this came to light with just a little digging," Mr. Carter added. "And my father, the president, is already making arrangements to fire you." A strangled gasp escaped Daniel's lips. "And no way," he whispered. The reality of his downfall hit him all at once. Divorce. Unemployment. Everything he had relied on crumbling in a single moment. This is impossible. How am I supposed to live without a job or family?" Daniel clutched his head in anguish. His mother, seeing him collapse in despair, immediately panicked. Please, both of you. Don't say such strange things," she wailed. "Besides, Emma has nowhere to go even if she leaves, right? She has no choice but to stay here." Sophia folded her arms, her expression unwavering. "Actually," she said coolly, "Emma already has a job waiting for her at Mr. Carter's company." Daniel and his mother both turned their wide, pleading eyes toward me. "See, come on, reconsider." Daniel begged. "We're husband and wife, right? We can work this out." His mother joined in, her voice shaking. "If you leave, we won't be able to survive. Help us, Emma. Please." I sighed deeply as they desperately clung to me. Even now, after everything, they didn't feel guilt. They didn't feel regret. They just wanted to use me for their own benefit. I shook my head slowly, my voice steady. This is the outcome of your own actions. Don't make me laugh by asking for help now. I turned away. I was done. I walked out of that house for the last time, stepping into the sunlight alongside Sophia and Mr. Carter. In the end, I successfully divorced Daniel. With the overwhelming evidence I had gathered, the court ruled that I had suffered severe mistreatment. My mother-in-law was ordered to pay me $30,000 in compensation. As Mr. Carter had said, Daniel was fired from the company. Now, the man who once belittled and controlled me, the man who thought he was untouchable, was jobless, abandoned, and living in poverty alongside his equally cruel mother. Meanwhile, Sophia officially cut ties with her family and married Mr. Carter. She now lives happily by his side, free from the toxic home she once knew. As for me, I returned to society.